So this pertains to even me recently here in Nebraska. I think we're ranked 4 in the country of highest radon. And a new build right now, if you build a home, most jurisdictions from being in the construction field require a radon mitigation system into the slab, passive system, and amongst contractors, it's always laughed at, like, oh, radon, that's just some crazy thing. It doesn't really matter. It's a hoax or fake news or whatever.
No, it's
And
not.
before getting into building biology, I didn't realize how much research and science was behind radon and the link to cancer, because it's like not talked about here in Nebraska. No state
Yeah.
resources, no education. And my grandma uh, got lung cancer, and she never smoked. And it was really interesting because I'd kind of had all this realization, and we went into the doctor, and it was an appointment, and the doctor goes, "Oh, I see here you had lung cancer," and he goes, "You don't smoke?" "No, never smoked." And he goes, "Oh, so just unlucky then." Well, she lived in a home that never had full basement, never had a radon mitigation system, so it's
Yeah.
likely that she was just exposed to incredibly high radon her whole life. But it shows you, even an oncologist living in Nebraska didn't put two and two together. Instead of saying, "Oh, have you ever had your radon levels checked?" Instead, it's just, "Oh, you just must be unlucky." So it just shows you kind of how we're really dropping the ball um, as far as getting the word out, educating people. It's something simple you can do. Now the meters are really affordable, and it's been really shocking. Even if it's a slab on grade structure, you can still have really high radon levels. You don't just, it's not just from basements. It's essentially soil gases, the uranium that breaks down and, just comes up through any crack in concrete that you may have. And then, your building's contained. So unless you're airing out your air, those radon particles will float in the air. They're just the same buoyancy. So they hang in the air, they mix with dust. So you can really have a problem if you're not, measuring and really airing out your home regularly. And also, you should have a minimal passive radon mitigation system.
Yeah, 100%. Drew, I'm glad that you're talking about this because this is definitely something, and I push really hard on clients to bring awareness to this because I think that for the cost of testing, like down here we have a short term and a long term test that we use in everything. I know you can buy the meters. I try to stay free. I try to stay clear of that. I use a lab generated test. And the lab will actually tell us what the results are. That's what I like about it. It's not something that's just a meter. It's not mechanical. You don't have to worry about calibration, nothing like that. It's more along the lines of, submit it to the lab. They give us the results, and then we decide if we need to do anything further from there, right? A lot of times we don't, right? But there have been a few cases where it comes back as being elevated or slightly elevated or close to it, right? And with any short-term test, I always recommend following it up with a long-term test, right? Simply because of the fact that a short-term disadvantage to doing a long-term test is that it is long-term. You're not going to get your answer for up to a year from now, right? So I always say let's start with the short-term test because the long-term tests run anywhere from 3 to 12 months, right? Short-term tests we run it for from 48 to 72 hours, and then we usually have our results back within about a week or two, right? Now I always say that they are accurate, the short-term tests, right? But the long-term tests are more accurate because it's spread out over a period of time, right? Best thing we usually tell clients is to do it during the winter season, right? Through the heating season, because that's what they say they find radon to be the most prevalent is during those times in those periods. So that's where the long-term test comes in, right? Obviously the advantage to the long-term test is that it's more accurate. The disadvantage to it is that you got to wait so long to get your answer. It's the opposite with the short-term test, right? The short-term test, you get your answer right away, but we like to see it go through several different seasons so that we can kind of pinpoint exactly, over a period of time. So I usually I like doing both.